Hello, Fish Faithful. This is Marlins Daily on the Fan Arch Network. I am Kurt Semder, and we are coming to you a day after a disaster at Lone Depot Park for the Marlins as they got blown away by the Pirates 13-1. Not a good performance, to say the very least. And for me, luckily or unluckily, I got to witness this debacle in person. That's right. I made my way out to Lone Depot Park on Thursday afternoon. Had some friends in town who wanted to check out the ballpark for the first time. They came out to check out this one and to see the game, see the team. Shout out to Rich, Kristen, Jack, and James for making the trip, and at least they got to see one team play good baseball. That team, unfortunately, though, was not the home team, as once again Miami just laid an egg in this game, and it was just bad baseball all the way around. It was like the Marlins forgot what they had done to make themselves successful over the last 4 games, and just a bad effort all the way around. Not one thing went right. They were taking on Braxton Ashcroft, who we said, has the kind of stuff that he can shut down a lineup. He had been a little bit iffy as of late, but the Marlins did not make it difficult on him. A lot of weakly hit balls, a lot of swinging and missing early in the count. Ashcroft went the complete game. He went the distance in this one. A complete game, 3-hitter, 10 strikeouts, and he only needed 85 pitches to get it done, which shows you that the Marlins were being overly aggressive at the plate. They were not being patient. They were not getting good at bats, and they were just not doing what they had been doing over the last 4 games. In fact, Ashcroft he faced the minimum batters through the first 8 innings. The 24 hitters came up. 24 hitters were either retired. There were double plays. I think 3 of them in this game. And the Marlins just never really threatened in this one. They got a home run late in the 9th, but the game was well over by that point. And the team just looked lifeless out there. It just didn't look like they, I don't want to say that they weren't giving it full effort, because, they're professionals, and I'm sure they were, but it just didn't seem that way, seeing it in person and seeing what this team put out there. The first 4 innings of the game were pretty bland. Nothing really happening in this game. The 5th inning is when things start to pick up. You get a triple that puts the Pirates in business, followed immediately by Tyler Phillips committing a balk that brings in the first run of the game. And then Jared Triolo just blasts one to center field that Jacob Marcy thought he had a beat on, looked like he was going to make his second big highlight reel catch that would rob a home run. And instead, for the second time in 2 weeks, the Marlins have a ball pop out of their glove and go over the fence for a home run for the opposing team. It's something you don't see that often. It's something you are, rare to see even once a year, let alone twice in 2 weeks. A little bit unlucky there. I mean, I'm not going to blame Marcy for that. But, it was just a sign of things to come in this game. Rafael Flores, who had done practically nothing up until this point, launched a pair of home runs. I'm not going to go crazy on the second one because it was off of Javier Sanoa, who was pitching in this game. But he blasts a 3-run homer, and both Triolo and Flores, that's their second home run of the season that was given up by Marlins pitching. Marlins pitching giving these guys who are not power threats, who have not shown the ability to, do this consistently, giving up 2 home runs to guys who are not home run hitters. And, sometimes it's just not your day. This was that might be an understatement when we talk about this game. And again, Tyler Phillips, I said yesterday I wanted to see him pitch into the 6th inning. He did pitch into the 6th inning, but, things were already starting to get out of hand by that point. And it gave the Marlins, I guess, an ability to kind of spare the bullpen on both ends because Phillips stayed in the game till the 6th. John King really struggled giving up that home run, and then, you know, Clayton McCullough just decided to basically wave the white flag and throw in the towel down 8-0 at that point and put Javier Sanoja on the mound, which we've seen them do more than once this season. And Sanoja, you know, whatever. He did what he could do, you know, gave up 2 home runs in the 9th. But he came in the 8th inning, which, you know, I can't recall seeing position players coming in prior to the 9th inning in too many games. So just all around, just not a good effort from this team. And it's frustrating because this is a team and this is a game that you wanted to have. You wanted to sweep the Pirates. You wanted to finish them off. And you're facing a team that had shown you nothing offensively through the first 2 games of this season, of the series. And they come out there and just torch you for 8 runs. It ended up being 13. But again, those last 5 off of Sanoa, they are what they are. So not the afternoon you wanted here. And when I looked at what happened here in this game and I looked at the offensive production, the biggest thing that stood out to me was just the awful lineup that was put out there. I don't know what they were thinking with the lineup that they decided to go with here. Listen, I know day game after a night game, you're going to make some changes. You're going to move some guys around. You're probably going to go to your other catcher, that sort of thing. But this franchise and this team seems more often than not to get a little too cute with their lineups, day games after night games. And this was yet another example of it. It's one thing to have a team that's versatile, a team that you have multiple players who can play multiple positions. It's another thing to have a team that doesn't have a ton of depth. And the Marlins do not have a ton of depth. And frankly, they're not good enough of a team to get this cute with the lineup. And we've seen it far too frequently this season, where they just put out these day game lineups sometimes that you just shake your head and go, what are they thinking? And this was no exception, because this lineup didn't do anything. They only got 2 hits in the entire game up until Casey's home run in the 9th. And they provided no threat, and they gave the Pirates no scare throughout the entire game. And what drives me crazy is you had a lineup that was cooking. They were working. They were doing the job. They had a lineup that just the night before scored 8 runs on 9 hits. They only struck out 5 times. You mess around with that, put out this lineup, and this lineup, yeah, everybody can have a bad day, but this lineup scores 1 run on 3 hits and strikes out 10 times. They strike out twice as much. Just leave it alone. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And the lineup I was set up here, it was unnecessary. You know, as far as what you did here, the main switch in the lineup being taking a guy like Heriberto Hernandez, who homered the night before, giving him the day off, taking him out of the lineup, which I know you got to give guys the days off, but unless he needed it or asked for the day off, you need his bat in the lineup right now almost every day, because he's been that productive of a power hitter. I know the average is down. I know he's been struggling a little bit as of late, but you need him to get out of that slump playing, not with a day off. So that was one of the big changes that they made. One of the changes they made to the lineup. Hernandez was out. Ruiz was in left field. Sanoja getting into the lineup here over, not necessarily over, but into the lineup in place of Leo Jimenez, who moved over to first base when they started moving guys around here. I don't have a problem with giving Joe Mack the day off. Again, you're going to do that with your catcher. We finally got to see Ramirez behind the plate, and he did a good job. No major issues there. But you can't mess around with it this much. And if you've been watching this show for the last month or so, you know what my biggest problem with this lineup was. It shouldn't be a surprise. It was the biggest problem that most of you had when that lineup was posted and in the comments section on Twitter, and that was Jacob Marcy hitting leadoff. What the heck are you doing here? What in the name of Hanley Ramirez are they thinking? When they put him, I had a problem with them having him hitting fifth. They had him hitting leadoff. I know he's had an over 400 on base percentage since the start of July. Great. How many moments or how many of those situations do you remember? How many big hits has he had? How many big moments has he had? How many times has he come through in the clutch? None. And yes, one of the two hits actually was from him. But what are you messing around with this for? You've got Lopez, you've got Edwards. Conine is really cruising along right now, and he is hitting home runs at an amazing clip. Leave those guys alone. 1, 2, 3, boom, done. You're good. You take Hernandez out of the lineup, I get it. Now you've left yourself, you feel like you've anyway, left yourself without a cleanup hitter. But what you did here was you bumped Marcy from 5th to 1. You moved everybody else down. You're not necessarily, I get it. Okay, so you're thinking Marcy's going to get on base and then these guys are going to drive him in. None of that happened. And you keep moving guys around and you're doing it for an unnecessary reason. It's more the analytics nonsense that I can't stand with this team and the way they operate. And look, Leo Jimenez did a good job over at first base. There were a couple of plays there that were a little tricky. He handled them well. But again, didn't need to make that switch. Didn't need to give Conine a day as DH. It just was not necessary. He could have played first base. If you want to give Hernandez the day off from playing the field, put him at DH. Then he still got his bat in the lineup. There's other ways to do it. But it'd be great if this team would just put the same 8 or 9, same 9 guys, or give the catcher a spell, but have a consistent lineup. They're constantly trying to outsmart the system and in turn are outsmarting themselves. And it's just not a way to win baseball games. And they're showing that. And this was a missed opportunity because you lose this game, you drop down now to 62-60, you drop another game behind the Phillies, who are now 2.5 games up in the wild card race, and they just didn't get it done all the way around, and they set themselves up for failure right from the beginning with this lineup. At least that's how I see it. So hopefully they figure this out as they get set up for the next games and they get set up to hit the road. They've got to get the lineup settled, and they just got to stick with what works and stop trying to find the next big move or the next step. It's not working. Pick your team, go out with them, and let them play, and let them stay in the same position for a couple of games in a row. Watch what happens if you do that. I bet it'll work. I bet it'll work. But instead, again, look, I know, one game, don't overreact. But this was a win you would have liked to have had. And instead, not only was it a game that they lost, it was a game they didn't even show up for. And losing 13-1 is embarrassing. Embarrassing. There's no other way to put it. Well, let's talk about something a little happier. Let's talk about something moving forward, shall we? And let's talk about the future of the Marlins, which a lot of people always talk about when we talk about prospects and trades and things that this team does. And let's talk about MLB Pipeline's top 100, because they just updated their rankings yesterday, and Miami now has 6 of baseball's top 100 prospects. The big change here being the introduction of Jacob Lombard, their number 1 overall draft pick this past season, getting into the top 50. So he's right there. You look at the Marlins' top 100 the guys in their system, and you look at their top prospects, and there are certain guys here that stand out, and there are certain guys that we have questions about. Their top prospects are hurt. I mean, that's a big issue right now, and we're going to have to just wait and see how they respond. Thomas White, Robbie Snelling, Javier Arquette, all out with injuries, shoulder, elbow, and a thumb, respectively. Arquette will probably make it back to play a little bit this season, but the other two, we're not seeing them till next year. Lombard has been decent through the first 8 games, but again, he's at A-ball, not much to see there, not much to do there. He homered in his first game. He struck out 13 times in 8 games. We knew he was going to have some issues with swing and miss. Hopefully he's able to sort that out and figure it out moving forward. Carson Milbrandt, coming in as their 5th overall prospect right now, he's had been doing really well, but he has struggled at Jacksonville, getting lit up the last 5 or 6 starts. So he seems like he still has some work to do before he can help this team contribute by contributing at the major league level. The sixth guy on this list in the top 100 is who has my attention. He's got some of your attention from some of the comments I've seen on earlier videos, and that's Cam Cannarella. And he has just been tearing it up at Jacksonville the last 10 games. I mean, listen to these numbers. He's hitting .366 over the last 10 games. He's got 4 home runs. He's got 18 RBI. He's got 5 stolen bases. And guess what? He plays an excellent defensive center field. You know who else plays an excellent defensive center field? Jacob Marcy. You know who isn't hitting at all right now? Jacob Marcy. Guess what the Marlins should do? It doesn't take an analytics expert, or it doesn't take someone to run the numbers to figure this out. And I know, again, similar to Jonathan Long, what we had talked about in an earlier show this week, they'd have to make some roster moves to make it happen. But Cannarella is hitting well at AAA. I don't see any reason to wait much longer. Get him up here. Let him play center field. Let him get the spot that Marcy has right now. Put him in your lineup. See if you can catch lightning in a bottle. Maybe you can get some extra offense that this team sorely needs. They need to get an influx somewhere of offense. And the trade deadline has passed, so they're going to have to look within to get it done. Cannarella seems to be the best option right now to help this team in the immediate future. And I don't know how much longer they're going to wait. This team, for some reason, seems to feel like they need to give Marcy chance after chance after chance to figure it out, to get his bat going. But we are in mid-August right now. There's a month and a half left in the season. How much longer are you going to wait? How much longer are you going to wait to make that move and make that switch? And not only are they not making the switch, but they're not even burying him in the lineup. They're putting him now at the top. So what are they doing? I think the option is within their own system. I think they just got to look within and make that move. I also don't think it's on the horizon for the way this team operates. Maybe they need to wait. They don't want to start his service time clock, whatever the problem may be. But he would help a lot. And I think it would be a smart move for this team if they can do that. And they have a big stretch coming up starting tonight. Marlins are going to head out on the road. They got 6 games coming up here, 3 in Cincinnati, and then a huge series at the start of next week in Philadelphia. The good news is that Sandy's going to pitch twice over those 6 games. That's going to help big time. The bad news is starting tonight, Sandy's got a huge matchup and a tough matchup for this offense, taking on Chase Burns, who has been really, really good. He has been extremely good for the Reds. So we may have a pitcher's duel situation here. Sandy may have to win another 2-0, 2-1 game to get it done. But you want to see him continue to pitch the way he has and continue to help this team find a way to win in games where the bats sometimes don't show up. The rest of the series this weekend, you're going to have Ryan Gusto and a bullpen game on Saturday against Brady Singer. And then Yuri Perez looks to continue what has been just an unbelievably excellent run when he takes on Nick Lodolo on Sunday. So Marlins have their 2 best pitchers pitching in this series, which means got to take 2 of 3. I would love it if somehow Perez would have been able to pitch. He would have been able to have these 2 guys both pitching in the Phillies series, but you'll settle for just Sandy pitching the last game of the Phillies series. But this is a big stretch for the Marlins right now. 62-60, going on the road, 2.5 games back of Philly. You got to win in Cincinnati because you got to keep yourself right there with Philly before that one. You don't want to go into that series with the Phillies 4 or 5 games behind. You want to at least be keeping pace with them and sit right where they are 2-3 games back so you can make a dent in that in a big way when you play them next week. And then as far as the rest of the weekend goes, let's just see how the lineup lays out and let's see what this team does. And hopefully they're able to forget this 13-1 game. I know I won't for a while. I know I won't. And you know what? The good thing is I had a fun time at the ballpark nonetheless. Lone Depot Park rarely fails to disappoint. And had a great time either way. Would have loved to see a win. The first half of the game was fun while they were in it. The second half was excruciating, and I'm sure the team felt pretty much the same way. So we'll catch up with you on Monday and see how things go. Hopefully it's a good weekend for the Marlins. We will see how things play out. Everybody have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us here on Marlins Daily. I'll see you Monday.